You have to invest differently in rural communities.
I get proud, or whenever I go to Walmart and I see the apples, the fruit, and everything like that, I'll be like, yeah, we did that. I'm very proud of what I did to help.
El trabajo es podar los árboles, darles podada para que den más manzana para el año que viene, y luego ya es descuatar la manzanita para que salgan más grandes las manzanas que vienen, y cortar zacate, darle mantenimiento a todo el rancho, a todos los árboles, para que el otro año den más producción.
We provide a holistic range of services to a group of year-round farm workers and migratory farm workers. And there are apple orchards, peach orchards, some vineyards where there are people there year-round who do that work, and then groups of migrants that come in. So we do a lot of healthcare case management, we do education support. We're pretty much the interpreters and translators for a lot of organizations that our clients are involved with.
There are populations of migrant workers, and it just made sense that the board took a stand and said, this is what we're here for, and these are folks that need our support. So there is a very strategic investment from our foundation perspective in ensuring that migrant farm workers get health care access and coverage.
We've had dedicated funding from one healthcare funder, and it's been a very, very successful program, really life-changing for many people.
Médicos, servicio social, consejería, apoyo, o sea, abarca todo. No he visto otro servicio social como el de aquí. Muy eficaz, la gente muy humana, lo ayudan a uno en todo lo que tienen, pueden y quieren, más de lo que uno piensa que lo pueden ayudar. Es un programa que nunca lo he visto yo. No sé mi experiencia que tengo, pero nunca lo he visto en otras partes, no lo he visto. No he sabido pues tampoco que hay un servicio social como el de aquí.
I think many people don't realize that you even have these kind of workers nearby. Because it's so rural, you just don't see these people.
We are not a foundation that sits in our offices. I don't expect them to come to me all the time. That's not a true partnership.
We've had 2 funders do a tour with their board.
They need to see for themselves our investments and how they're unfolding and how they're working, and meet the people.
It is an eye-opening experience for people.
They were able to tour around. They were able to hear from the different organizations that we fund and some of the leaders that are part of that community. They really were able to see for themselves the wonderful community that we partner with and the work that is being done there.
Do something to get as close as you can to the actual people who are immigrants. If you don't work in that capacity already, which I don't, go visit. We visited the apple orchard. We saw what was going on. We learned about actual people that had been there and how they had accessed health care and their families and their needs, or volunteer in some capacity where you're one-on-one meeting and talking with and getting to know and understanding the people, the families, the children, the struggles, and it just puts a different light on it.
I think we do rural well. You can't come in as the big funder and this is what I want to do. You have to maneuver within that culture, within that environment, and not give up. You have to, I like to say, get in where you fit in. I know we had to, and I would recommend this to anyone. You have to invest differently in rural communities, looking at how you're investing, and maybe funders are the roadblock to some of that, because we have our rules and we have our regulations and our guidelines, but rural communities often cannot meet those. We typically don't fund transportation, but we're funding transportation projects in our rural communities, because that's a huge barrier. We typically don't fund meals, you're right, but particularly in the Latino culture, that to come together around a meal is very, very important.
There are language barriers. There are so many things that get in the way that we need to sort through and parse out and realize that this is an area that needs to be addressed.
I think it's definitely helpful for funders and policymakers to listen to perspectives, whether it's from us as service providers or, agricultural workers themselves, about the ways that the systems that exist aren't meeting their needs. Because I think maybe someone from the outside might think, okay, there's agricultural workers in this county, that county has a federally qualified health clinic, so therefore their needs can be met through that, when you don't really maybe know until you kind of get more into their environment that okay, this is what that workday actually looks like, or this is where they live, and this is what the transportation situation is, and this is when the clinic closes. So even though, in these two things are in basic proximity to each other, maybe that people who aren't working in this type of work might, deem as okay, this is an accessible option. Kind of getting there and understanding kind of why that is not the case for people who are involved in this type of work is important.
I think the last figure I saw is that immigrants make up 17% of our workforce. That's so key to so many industries, agricultural, of course. It's just such a reality and a need that no matter, if you're not the humanitarian approach, then there's an economic approach, because it's just part of our economy, and our economy depends on it. The vibrancy of our communities depends upon it, and the vibrancy of our communities is enriched by the diversity that comes along with immigration.
For me, it goes beyond partnership, and they bring ideas to me, I bring ideas to them. I go visit, I know what's going on, I know all of the people, all of the players, they know me. It's not a funder-grantee relationship, it's more collegial than that. And all of that makes a true partnership to me, and we really have definitely boosted our investments in that county. It's really working very well.